before the moon, let's talk about the Chinese sub-launch ballistic missile into the Pacific Ocean. Now, there's a big ruckus being raised by United States and all the U.S. vassal states in the South Pacific. I'm talking about the Anglo Five Eye members like Australia and New Zealand. They're like, oh my God, China just fired a nuclear-capable missile into the nuclear-free zone of South Pacific.
The Australian Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, made it clear that the warning of this test was extremely short, so they were surprised. Do you accept what she says, that a test of this nature with very limited warning is destabilising for the region?
No, not at all. I think China follows international protocol in notifying countries of concern for this testing. And I think Australia should be grateful that China give Australia the courtesy of advance notice about the testing, about the flight details, etc. And I hope China and Australia will really get along with each other, not only as two very large economic trading partners, but also more and more sharing and coordinating on political matters or even geopolitical matters.
The leaders of the Pacific nations made clear that they objected to China testing missile of this nature in the Pacific.
Well, in the world of today, in terms of practicality, you may object, but then you need to follow the international rules. The Pacific is not a prohibited region for nuclear testing, and China has absolute legitimacy in doing this kind of testing in the Pacific without violating any international protocol.
These don't sound like terribly peaceful words, but let me just ask you one question. Does Australia's increasing interoperability, that is working alongside with enabling US forces in Australia, make Australia a target for the Chinese military?
Well, at the time when AUKUS was announced, I said publicly on Australian television that Australia should really treasure the luxury of being a nuclear-free country. So my point is very simple. Treasure the nuclear-free zone, free country status for Australia, and make sure that Australia will not be involved in any nuclear confrontation. And a nuclear-powered submarine will be tantamount to be a nuclear submarine in itself, and is a major step into enriching nuclear uranium, etc., and possessing nuclear technologies to be less and less considered as a nuclear-free country. And I want to urge everyone in Australia to do the right thing. Stay away from being a nuclear power, because you do not know what will be the consequence.
Well, first of all, like what they're talking about, the nuclear-free zone, is they're talking about a Treaty of Rarotonga that says no nuclear testing in this area. Well, guess what? China did not fire a nuke into that area. I mean, like the Treaty of Rarotonga said nothing about ballistic missile testing. It says no nuclear testing. China fired a dummy warhead into that area. And the fact that, you know, I can tell you the number of times China had launched ballistic missiles in South Pacific from time immemorial, from the beginning of the human history until now. China has fired three missiles into that area. The first one was ICBM back in the early 1980s. The last one was in 2024, and now this last recent one. Guess how many times the United States have fired missiles in that area? Hundreds. The United States conducting hundreds of ICBM and sub-launched ballistic missiles in that area. Never a peep of complaint from Australia and New Zealand. Now, China conducted third test, and suddenly everybody's up in arms, like, oh my God, this is raising the tension. China is firing a nuclear-capable missile into a nuclear-free zone. It's like, look, man, and I'll tell you why China did that. This also happened to align with, U.S. maneuver to contain China. I had a debate with Scott Ritter on this back in the days, for some reason, yes. So at that time, it was me, Scott Ritter, and Alex Reporterify. we're talking about like Chinese capabilities. Like Alex was saying, oh, look at Chongqing where I live now. Like the factories are humming. China can pump up stuff like nothing. And Scott says, you know what? We, United States, we could bomb those factories. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Do you even know where Chongqing is? Chongqing is not even located on the coast. It's located on the inland China. I don't think U.S. have any capability of sending a B-2 or a bomber deep inside China to drop a load. I mean, I think that's a fantasy. But Scott Ritter's like, well, what about we have. But guess what? We have those quiet subs lay on the bottom of South China Sea. What if we do the first launch? What if we strike first, right? Well, guess what? What China has demonstrated is that China has second strike capability. This launch was from a Chinese sub. Like these and China has been creating nuclear subs, like they're cranking out nuclear sub like dumplings in more recent years. I think this year they just made two new additional ones, and so these subs will be able to roam quietly all across the ocean, loaded with nuclear capable missiles, and that they can fire over long distance. So what that means, even if US does a preemptive strike, even a nuclear strike against targets in China is telling United States, hey, we possess second strike capability. Your ass will be nuked. Okay, if you're gonna bring war to China's footsteps, your ass can be nuked. And this is why there's a widespread panic. Right? I mean, like before, they think United States will be able to bomb and nuke China with impunity. This is why there's even a talk about a limited nuclear war, like using tactical nuclear missiles against U.S. against Chinese naval bases on the islands and in the surrounding. So China's like, hold your horses. Look, Mad Doctrine is still in effect. Right? If you dare attack us, we will nuke you. Don't worry about it. Right? So this is a reminder for people, and because what China has tested is not even a new capability. This is they have possession of that missile for over 10 years. This is just a test. This is a demonstration of capability. Look, we do have the capability of second strike. And we can nuke you. That is a message China was trying to send. So, and of course, that's ruffle a lot of feathers in Washington and beyond.
Well, look, I would tell you this. Ritter is a cheerleader. He's not. If we are talking about specific things about the nuclear doctrine and stuff like that, fair enough. But the Ukraine war is not over. The U.S. cannot just randomly bomb an area that he didn't know, where it even was. And this idea that they can do tactical nukes and that will be the end of it is nonsense. A tactical nuclear war is a nuclear war, and it would escalate to a nuclear war improper. Like, it's just outrageous that the argument would even be made. Every military test that we've done where we attacked China, we lost. We lost. How are those ships even going to get close to the coast? Like, meaning it immediately escalates into a nuclear war. A conventional war is just, that's amazing to me that he was making that. I mean, well, maybe it's not amazing to me that Ritter would make that case. That's just astonishing. I would say that a country the size of China obviously has second strike capability. He didn't believe that.
Well, I mean, at that time, he said, yeah, what if the U.S. strike first? All these quiet U.S. subs from South China Sea could launch those missiles to a target in China. Well, China just showed, well, okay, we could do the same. Like what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You can launch from your subs. We can launch from our subs. We will be officially in the Fallout territory. I'm an old gamer. I love Fallout series, and I remember one of the side plot of the Fallout 2 game was a Chinese nuclear submarine after they fired their missiles got stranded in San Francisco in the a nuclear apocalypse America and then colonize San Francisco. So we are right on that timeline right now, Jamar. We're very close on the timeline.
This missile that it fired into the sea, like you said, this was testing old capability. This was more of a signal more than anything else. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine China already knew the missile worked. Or did they know the missile worked?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they know the missile worked. I mean, like that. That's why they would fire it toward international water, right? Because like otherwise they probably could just like fire, I don't know, somehow. And that's another thing, you know, like for China to test its long range, you know, ICBMs and stuff. Where else would China fire? Like, you know, like Russia could potentially, you know, do it within territory because Russia is really big. But China, as big as China is, you know, China is about the size of United States. And if they're going to test an ICBM or something like that, you will have to go to international waters. You know, just no place else. Yeah.
Well, obviously, the United States, Australia, New Zealand don't have room to complain and bitch about this. And this is not about fairness. It's about power. Basically, we don't want China demonstrating methods of strength. That's up to us to do. Right? Yeah. We want to do that. We don't want them to do that. It's like the lady protests far too much. The lady protests far too much. And to be honest, China doesn't care that they're complaining, right? Or do they?
I mean, I think it's expected. You know, I think China expected the pushback. You know, speaking of lady protesting too much, well, may Lindsey Graham rest in peace.
Yes, may Lindsey Graham rest in peace.
Pieces, pieces.
Basically, rest in hell.
Rest in pieces.
Yes. Joking. We have been saying some bad things about Miss Lindsey since his death. What's funny, we've had all sorts of rumors. One rumor that I created was that when he went to Ukraine, he saw those sexy Ukrainian men, those sexy Nazis, with their tight buttocks and those military garb, and his heart just couldn't take it. His ticker just. Oh my God.
Well, I actually the last public released news about Lindsey Graham before the announcement of his death, that he visited a Ukrainian drone factory, the Skyfall drone factory. And that factory was later bombed by Russian missiles. We know that drone factory was destroyed. And now we have the news that Lindsey Graham is somehow died of sudden illness. I mean, what is the possibility? What is the possibility that that Lindsey Graham suddenly succumbed to a sudden illness called the Russian Iskander missiles up his ass? I mean, what is that? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know.
Oh, that is funny. He died from a sudden illness called a Russian missile strike. That's a new illness. I float between those two theories. He was in Ukraine and his heart couldn't take the sexy Nazis in their uniforms, or he got taken out by a Russian missile and they just call it a cardiac event. I bet he did have a cardiac event as the missile hit, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm sure.
I feel you. It's like, oh my God, the Russians. Miss Lindsey died of the sassy senator from South Carolina died of a missile, you know. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I'm glad you brought that up because we have been riffing on that.
I'm sure his family and his children will miss it. Oh wait. Yeah, doesn't have children. Anyways.
You know what's wild though? Before we move on to the moon thing, Ted brought up, he was like, who made the phone call? Who made the call? Like, meaning when the cops got to the house door was locked. Who made the call to let them know that Miss Lindsey was having a cardiac event? Oh, ain't that interesting? Ain't that interesting? It's possible that Lindsey was engaged in, let's say, activities unbefitting of a U.S. senator. But it's not true. Lindsey Graham can do whatever he wants. Look, by the way, I'm joking not because he's gay. I'm joking because He's a Republican that can't acknowledge that he's gay.
You saw that viral clip when I forgot which journalist said, "Can you just come out of the closet so people can't blackmail you for being gay?"
He couldn't do it. That's the sad part. He couldn't. He didn't think he could do it as a Republican, which is sad, right? It's like you live your whole life in the closet, and everybody knows, but nobody says, and yet,
now we have like openly gay Republican oligarchs like Peter Thiel now, backing Trump. It's like, come on, Lindsey, it's 2026. It's okay. Let it go. Just so people can't blackmail you anymore. Just let it out in the open. It's okay. You can be an evil gay Republican. It's okay.
It's okay. Like, look, and again, I want to be very clear. We're not mocking him because he's gay. We're mocking him because he doesn't admit that he's gay.
Well, because and he's evil. And he's evil. I mean, let's yeah.
He's an evil human being.
Yeah.
So
he's not evil because he's gay. He's gay, but he's evil. That's the difference, right? So we're mocking him because he's evil and he denied the fact he's gay.
Yes, it's a little bit of both, right? Yeah, the evil thing more so, but the fact that he just can't acknowledge the homosexuality is just wild to me. After 20-something, 30 years in Congress, or however long he was in Congress. No, it's sad. It's sad that he didn't feel like he could come out the closet. And like I said, there's a question of who called the cops, because when the cops got there, the door was locked. So was Lindsey having a tryst? The tryst went bad. He couldn't take it. Clark gave up. The guy says, "Holy shit, I have a dead senator. What do I do? Let me call the cops and let me get out of here." Oh, so many questions. So many questions. I'm glad you brought that up, Carl. I needed to laugh this morning.